What unfolds when a cherished comedian steps onto America's most controversial stage and dismantles the moderator using nothing except raw, unfiltered honesty. You're seconds away from experiencing the most savage confrontation daytime television has ever broadcast. The exchange between Joy Behar and Leanne Morgan on The View wasn't simply an interview segment. It transformed into a live execution watched by countless viewers across the nation. Before we unpack this explosive encounter, smash that subscribe button and leave your reaction in the comments, because what you're about to witness will absolutely blow your mind. Joy Behar occupied her familiar position at The View's desk, wearing that recognizable expression of superiority. The look that had silenced countless guests over 41 years. That expression communicated ownership. This space, this conversation, everyone present belonged to her domain. Studio lighting illuminated her meticulously arranged hair as she reviewed her talking points, anticipating yet another straightforward takedown. 4 decades dominating television had crystallized one philosophy: attack immediately, strike mercilessly, offer zero apologies. Production staff had scheduled Leanne Morgan, the emerging queen of Southern comedy, boasting 12 million devoted followers and completely packed venues nationwide. Yet Joy registered none of these achievements. Her perception? Just another rural comedian from Tennessee. Simple target. Disposable entertainment before the lunch break. She possessed zero awareness that her own destroyer sat directly across from her. "All right, everyone, we're returning," Joy proclaimed toward the cameras with characteristic theatrical presence. Half circus director, half apex predator, stalking wounded quarry. Joining us is Leanne Morgan, who evidently believes sharing anecdotes about rural America qualifies her as comedy's next sensation. The assault had commenced. "Leanne, sweetheart, enlighten our audience about what makes your quaint journey so extraordinary." Sweetheart, quaint, extraordinary. 3 calculated terms saturated with dismissal. 3 linguistic weapons engineered to diminish this country comedian before she could utter a syllable. Joy's fellow panelists adjusted nervously, recognizing that distinctive tension electrifying the atmosphere whenever Joy positioned herself to verbally eviscerate a guest. Leanne maintained her seat, wearing understated yet refined clothing radiating authenticity, while Joy's designer wardrobe broadcast artificiality. She offered a courteous smile, though those eyes communicated an entirely separate narrative. She had already evaluated Joy's character and discovered significant deficiencies. "Well, Joy," Leanne initiated, her gentle Tennessee dialect enveloping each word like sweet nectar concealing a sharpened edge. "I believe what distinguishes my comedy is its foundation in genuine experience. Authentic existence, authentic hardships, authentic individuals. Not everyone requires pretension or condescension toward others to generate laughter." The atmosphere crackled with electricity. Initial damage delivered, not through aggression, but via a smile wrapped in Southern charm. Joy's smug demeanor wavered momentarily before the protective facade reconstructed itself. "Oh, honestly, everyone understands real comedy demands intellect and refinement. I mean, literally anyone can recount hometown stories and extract chuckles from audiences lacking sophistication." She had counterattacked using her preferred weapon, intellectual dominance packaged in contemptuous mockery. However, the ammunition proved insufficient, and every person in that studio sensed it. "You know what strikes me as amusing, Joy?" Leanne shifted forward slightly, her tone maintaining friendliness while carrying an edge capable of slicing steel. The audience mirrored her movement, leaning inward collectively. I've observed your program for years. I continue waiting for you to articulate something genuinely humorous rather than simply malicious. Absolute stillness descended. The studio suspended its breath. Air conditioning hum became audible. Hearts pounded. The sound of a legacy beginning to fracture under pressure echoed invisibly. Joy's complexion flushed crimson. 41 years constructing her reputation as the razor-tongued veteran capable of demolishing anyone, anywhere, anytime. Yet somehow this Southern comedian had just reversed the dynamic in the most devastatingly polite manner conceivable. "Excuse me?" Joy's vocal pitch elevated an octave. Defensive systems activating, weapons deploying. "I've practiced comedy longer than your entire lifespan, sweetheart. Don't arrive on my program attempting to instruct me regarding humor." Sweetheart. Another diminutive. Another effort to manufacture smallness. Another strike destined to miss entirely. "Oh, honey," Leanne's voice sustained its calm, sweet, utterly unruffled quality. "I'm not instructing you. I'm simply making observations. You see, my upbringing taught us that cruelty differs fundamentally from comedy. Perhaps that's merely small-town principles speaking. Small-town principles." The phrase suspended in space like an explosive device with its pin already removed. Joy's hands contracted on the desktop, knuckles whitening, the mask deteriorating further with each passing moment. Small-town principles. You mean limited thinking? Genuine comedy provokes audiences, stimulates thought. It's not perpetual sunshine like your quaint, folksy performance. Your quaint, folksy performance. Her ammunition reserves were depleting visibly, and everyone recognized it. You're absolutely correct, Joy. Real comedy does provoke people. Leanne nodded contemplatively, positioning the trap with surgical accuracy. So when did you last deliver humor that unified people rather than divided them? When did you last make someone feel elevated rather than diminished? When did your comedy restore rather than destroy? 3 inquiries, 3 projectiles, 3 direct impacts penetrating everything Joy Behar claimed to represent. The questions lingered like battlefield smoke. Joy opened her mouth to respond, yet nothing emerged. For the first time across 4 decades of instant comebacks, 4 decades of verbal supremacy, 4 decades of never being rendered silent, she possessed absolutely nothing. The woman who built her career destroying others had been struck mute by simple, honest questions from a comedian she dismissed as irrelevant. Whoopi Goldberg attempted intervention, tried rescuing her drowning colleague. Well, this is certainly escalating. Let's discuss your tour, Leanne. But Joy's ego rejected retreat. Her pride demanded counteroffensive, despite empty arsenals. Wait just a moment. Are you genuinely attempting to educate me about comedy? Do you comprehend who you're addressing? I have appeared on television longer than you've been performing jokes at church gatherings or wherever you entertain. Church gatherings. The dismissal of a cosmopolitan elite examining a Tennessee nobody. The final desperate swing from a fighter recognizing defeat. Leanne's smile never faltered. Not once. Not for a fraction of a second. Church gatherings, comedy venues, theaters, streaming specials, sold-out stadiums. You name it, Joy. The reality is location doesn't matter, nor does duration. If you've forgotten your original purpose, comedy is designed to restore, not ravage. 8 words landing like a sledgehammer against everything Joy had constructed her identity upon. "Oh, spare me the inspirational seminar philosophy," Joy erupted, her composure completely shattered now. Comedy concerns truth. And truthfully, not everyone possesses the capacity for this industry. Certain people should remain in their modest local circuits instead of attempting to compete with established professionals. Established professionals. The playground insult of someone who'd exhausted intelligent responses. The audience grew increasingly restless, perceiving genuine hostility radiating from Joy like heat from a raging inferno. Yet Leanne simply remained there, calm as a summer twilight, patient as a hunter knowing the prey has already been wounded, awaiting the perfect moment to deliver the concluding blow. Established professionals, Leanne echoed softly, and something transformed in her bearing. The southern grace remained, but now it carried the weight of tempered steel underneath. Joy, honey, let me share something about established professionals. They don't require diminishing others to feel significant. They elevate each other. 2 declarations, parallel construction, each one a mirror reflecting Joy's entire career, revealing something hideous. Joy scoffed, the defensive reflex of someone possessing no remaining defense. Please, this isn't elementary school. This is entertainment business. If you cannot withstand minor criticism, perhaps you should return to whatever small-town comedy night spawned you. Spawned you. The vocabulary of someone desperately attempting to manufacture inferiority because she herself was contracting by the second. Criticism. Leanne tilted her head, appearing genuinely confused by the word selection. The audience gasped. 200 people inhaling sharply in perfect synchronization. Because my upbringing defined this differently. We call it being ugly without justification. But since you mentioned criticism, permit me to offer some. The studio suspended its breathing. Camera operators leaned closer. Joy's co-panelists exchanged terrified glances. Everyone sensed something devastating approaching. Your entire career has been constructed on attacking downward, Leanne continued, her voice still gentle as a lullaby, her words striking like precision-guided ammunition. You ridicule people unable to defend themselves. You mock folks lacking platforms for self-defense and label it comedy. But authentic comedy, Joy, authentic comedy attacks upward. It targets authority, injustice, people genuinely deserving humiliation, not regular folks simply navigating existence. Joy's complexion had transformed from crimson to violet. The metamorphosis was complete, from smug predator to cornered animal in under 10 minutes. How dare you arrive on my program and psychoanalyze me? You understand nothing about my career or my accomplishments. Oh, I understand plenty, Leanne smiled sweetly, loading her final ammunition. I understand you've spent years crafting jokes at regular people's expense. I understand you believe New York residency grants superior intelligence. I understand you've branded yourself as the mean girl who never matured. And honestly, Joy, it's just tragic. Tragic. One word. The most devastating weapon in Leanne's entire arsenal. Not anger, not contempt. Pity. Tragic? Joy's voice fractured, the first indication of genuine vulnerability penetrating the rage. I'm accomplished. I possess a career. I wield influence. What do you possess? Several online videos and county fair performances? Leanne laughed, and it constituted the most genuine, warm, authentic sound The View had broadcast in years. You know what I possess, Joy? I possess joy. I have audiences who depart my shows feeling enhanced about themselves. I have supporters who express my comedy, help them survive their darkest periods. I have peer respect because I treat people with dignity. Can you claim equivalence? The silence that followed differed from all previous silences. It wasn't merely uncomfortable. It was deafening, damning, absolute. Joy opened and closed her mouth like a fish struggling for oxygen, desperately seeking a comeback that wouldn't amplify her pathetic appearance. A co-host attempted damage control, sacrificing herself. Well, different comedians employ different approaches, correct? Different approaches? Leanne interrupted gently, never releasing eye contact with Joy for even a moment. Is cruelty an approach now? Because that's exclusively what I've witnessed from you, Joy, today. She invited me on this program not for conversation, but to attempt embarrassing me before millions. The tragic element? She's only embarrassed herself. Joy finally located her voice, though it trembled with barely restrained fury. You believe you're superior to me with your folksy wisdom and self-righteous attitude. Well, let me enlighten you, sweetheart. This industry will devour you completely. Pleasant people finish last. Perhaps? Leanne nodded thoughtfully, genuinely considering the words. But at least they finish with intact souls. Tell me, Joy, when you return home nightly, do you feel proud of who you've become? When you examine your reflection, do you appreciate what you observe? When you're alone with your thoughts, do you experience peace? 3 questions. 3 missiles aimed directly at Joy's entire existence's foundation. The questions impacted Joy like physical strikes, 1, 2, 3 blows that visibly staggered her. Her composure disintegrated completely, and for one terrible moment, the mask slipped entirely. The audience could perceive past the bravado, past the designer wardrobe, past 4 decades of meticulously constructed persona, straight to the insecure, bitter, isolated woman hiding beneath. I don't have to tolerate this, Joy stammered, her hands trembling as she fumbled with her notes as though they could somehow rescue her. This is my program. My program. Actually, Leanne stated quietly, her voice carrying the calm authority of absolute truth, I believe it's the audience's program. They determine what merits watching, and presently, they're observing you throw a tantrum, because someone finally possessed courage to speak truth. Joy surveyed the table at her co-hosts, desperately seeking support, seeking validation, seeking anyone who would align with her. She discovered only uncomfortable silence. Whoopi was studying her hands. Sunny was examining the ceiling. Others were avoiding eye contact as though their careers depended upon it. The realization struck her like a freight train. She was completely, utterly isolated in this moment. You don't understand. Joy's voice had descended to barely audible, the fight draining from her. This is how this industry functions. You must be tough. You must fight for your position. You must be willing to do whatever proves necessary. No, honey. Leanne's voice was gentle now, almost pitying, and somehow that rendered it even more devastating. You don't have to transform into a monster to succeed. You chose to become one. And the most tragic part? You've convinced yourself it was necessary when really it was simply easier than performing the difficult work of being genuinely funny. The studio achieved such quietness you could hear the air conditioning humming, the cameras whirring, the sound of a career collapsing in real time. Joy stared at Leanne with a mixture of hatred and something far more disturbing, recognition. As if she was perceiving herself clearly for the first time in decades, and the reflection was absolutely horrifying. Joy's breathing became shallow and rapid. The recognition in her eyes morphed quickly back into fury as her defense mechanisms kicked into overdrive. She couldn't handle the mirror Leanne was holding up, so she did what she'd always done when cornered. She attacked. You know what? Joy stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor with an awful screech that made the audience wince. I've had sufficient of this sanctimonious garbage. You arrive here acting like some comedy saint, but you're nothing. You're a nobody from nowhere attempting to lecture me about my career. Leanne remained seated, her posture relaxed, her expression compassionate rather than triumphant, her calm an absolute contrast to Joy's meltdown. Joy, please sit down. We're simply having a conversation. No. Joy's voice echoed through the studio like a thunderclap. This isn't a conversation. This is an ambush. You came here with an agenda to make me look bad, and I refused to tolerate it. The audience was shifting uncomfortably now, some retrieving their phones to record what was clearly becoming a historic meltdown in real time. The producers in the control room were frantically debating whether to cut to commercial or let this train wreck continue. Either choice would be disastrous. I didn't come here with any agenda except discussing comedy, Leanne said softly, her voice carrying clearly through the chaos. But if you're feeling attacked, perhaps you should ask yourself why. Sometimes when we hear truth, it feels like an attack because we've been lying to ourselves so long that honesty feels like violence. Stop it! Joy slammed her hand on the table so hard the coffee mugs jumped and rattled. Stop with your folksy psychology and your fake wisdom. You think you're so intelligent, so insightful. Well, here's some insight for you. This business is cutthroat. It's survival of the fittest, and the fittest isn't some small-town nobody who thinks she can waltz in here and lecture her betters. Her betters. The words hung in the air, exposing everything ugly about Joy's worldview in 2 simple syllables. Whoopi finally tried to intervene, sensing the situation spiraling beyond any hope of recovery. Joy, maybe we should take a breath here. Joy whirled on her like a wounded animal turning on its own pack. Don't you start too, Whoopi. I'm the one with the edge, the one who asks the tough questions, the one who isn't afraid to say what everyone else is thinking. Is that what you think you do? Leanne's voice cut through Joy's rant like a blade through silk. Because what I see is someone who mistakes cruelty for courage, someone who confuses being mean with being smart. You don't ask tough questions, Joy. You just ask cruel ones. There's a difference. That's it. Joy's face had turned an alarming shade of violet, spittle flying as she unleashed her final desperate volley. I don't have to take this from some amateur who probably learned comedy from watching sitcom reruns in her trailer. You want to know what real comedy is? Real comedy is telling the truth even when it hurts. And the truth is, you'll never be more than a novelty act. A cute little distraction for people who don't appreciate real talent. The silence that followed was different from all the silences before. It wasn't uncomfortable. It was damning. Even Joy seemed to realize she'd gone too far, crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. But she was too deep in her rage to back down now. Leanne stood up slowly, her movement graceful and deliberate, commanding attention without demanding it. When she spoke, her voice carried a profound sadness that somehow made her words even more devastating. You know what, Joy? You're right about one thing. Comedy is about telling the truth even when it hurts. So here's a truth for you. You're not the victim here. You're not the wrong party. You're not being unfairly attacked. You're just a bitter woman who has spent so many years tearing other people down that you've forgotten how to build anything up, including yourself. Joy opened her mouth to respond, but Leanne held up a gentle hand that somehow commanded absolute silence. I came here today excited to meet you, genuinely excited. I grew up watching you, thinking you were this strong, funny woman who had made it in a business that destroys most people. But what I see now is someone who let that business turn her into something ugly. And the saddest part? You don't even see it. How dare you, Joy whispered, but there was no fire left in her voice, just ashes where fury used to live. I dare because someone needs to, Leanne replied calmly. Your co-hosts won't tell you. They're too scared. Your producers won't tell you. You make them too much money. Your audience deserves better than what you've become, but they keep watching out of habit, out of morbid curiosity, out of wondering what train wreck you'll create next. Not because you bring them joy. When was the last time you brought anyone joy? Joy? The question hung in the air like a death sentence being read aloud. Joy looked around the studio, at the cameras recording her humiliation, at the audience witnessing her destruction, at her co-hosts refusing to meet her eyes. And for the first time in 41 years, she seemed to really see what everyone else had been seeing all along. A broken woman. A bitter woman. A woman who had traded her humanity for the illusion of power and come up empty. I've been doing this for 3 decades, Joy said weakly, wielding the number like a shield that had already been shattered. And what do you have to show for it, really? Leanne asked gently, almost kindly. Because from where I'm sitting, all I see is someone who has spent 30 years becoming someone nobody wants to be around unless they're being paid to tolerate her. Joy's face crumpled like paper in a fist. For a moment, she looked like she might actually cry on national television. But then the anger flared one last time, a dying star going supernova before collapsing into nothing. You think you've won something here? Joy's voice was shrill now, desperate, stripped of all pretense. You think you've accomplished something by coming on my show and humiliating me in front of millions of people? Well, congratulations. You've destroyed someone who was already down. That must make you feel really good about yourself. Actually, Leanne said quietly, it makes me feel sad because I can see the person you could have been. I can see glimpses of the comedian who probably started out just wanting to make people laugh, not cry. But you buried her so deep under all this bitterness and cruelty that I don't think even you remember who she was anymore. Joy stood there swaying slightly, as if Leanne's words had physically staggered her, knocked her off balance in a way no insult ever could. The fight had gone out of her completely. The predator had become prey. The hunter had been hunted. She looked around the studio one final time, searching for something, anything to hold on to. And when she spoke, her voice was barely audible. Broken, defeated. I can't do this anymore. Without another word, Joy Behar walked off the set. Not the dramatic storm-off of someone trying to make a statement. Not the theatrical exit of someone who planned to return. This was the defeated shuffle of someone who had finally seen themselves clearly and couldn't bear the sight for one more second. The sound of her high heels on the studio floor echoed through the silence. Click, 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 until even that faded away into nothing. The cameras kept rolling. The audience sat in stunned, absolute silence. No one moved, no one spoke, no one breathed. Leanne watched Joy disappear into the wings, and her expression held no triumph, only genuine sadness for what she had witnessed and what she had been forced to do. Whoopi tried to salvage something from the wreckage of what had been a normal morning talk show. Well, that was certainly something. Leanne, thank you for being here today. Thank you for having me, Leanne replied, but her heart was clearly no longer in the pleasantries. I hope Joy finds what she's looking for. I truly do. As the show finally cut to commercial, the audience slowly began to process the magnitude of what they had just witnessed. They had come expecting light entertainment, celebrity gossip, the usual daytime television fluff. Instead, they had witnessed the complete psychological deconstruction of a television personality who had spent 4 decades hiding behind a mask of cynicism and cruelty. In the end, it wasn't anger that brought Joy Behar down. It wasn't shouting. It wasn't matching her cruelty with more cruelty. It was something far more powerful and far more devastating. It was the simple, unvarnished truth, delivered with compassion by someone who refused to play the game by Joy's rules, refused to sink to Joy's level, refused to become what Joy had become. And that's how a small-town comedian from Tennessee managed to do what no politician had done, what no celebrity had done, what no fellow comedian had ever managed to do in 4 decades of trying. She held up a mirror and forced Joy Behar to see exactly who she had become. The image was so unbearable that Joy simply couldn't face it anymore. What do you think it takes for someone to truly change when they've spent decades becoming someone they were never meant to be? Is redemption possible after 41 years of cruelty? Can a person rebuild themselves after tearing down so many others? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Briefing Bureau for more incredible stories like this one.